Hey everybody, Insane Mike here from Attack of the Killer Podcast, and it's time for another Patreon video. The video I decided to do is to give you a tour of my kitchen. My house is just a museum of horror and comics and all kinds of pop culture. I try to theme the rooms to different things, but I just got so much crap it kind of bleeds into everywhere. So with the kitchen, there's a lot of stuff here in the kitchen that kind of relates to kitchen and food and stuff like that. And there's some stuff in the kitchen that I have here that I find funny for when people come over and they see it and they're like, "What? What is this guy?" So here's my kitchen. Starting off, if you can see behind me, there's a sign here. It says Fulci's Ice Cream. This was a sign that was made for one of my movies, Collapse. It was a scene that ended up getting cut out of the movie, and it took place at an ice cream shop, and I got to name it, so I named it Fulci's Ice Cream as a reference to Lucio Fulci, obviously. Collapse is a zombie film, but not really. And I figure, one of the best zombie filmmakers of all time is Lucio Fulci, so there we go. If we move along here, what else? Here's my cooking apron right here. Let's put this on. It's got a chest burster on it, so that's cool. On my fridge, now there's some, kind of some normal stuff on the fridge. It's kind of really cluttered right now, but I've got pictures of my children throughout here. A picture that my son drew that means a lot to me. Now we do have, a lot of magnets that really kind of reflect the type of person I am. But again, so I thought it was funny, a couple of limbs on top of the refrigerator, so that when people come over, and if you could see over here, there's a door there. A lot of people come in through the house through the door right into the kitchen, and one of the first things they're going to see is body parts on top of the refrigerator. Fun story, my daughter was over with her kids a few weeks ago, and we're hanging out in the kitchen, and my granddaughter, I'm talking to my daughter about things, and my granddaughter comes up to me and she's like, "Papa, why do you have legs on the top of your refrigerator?" And I told her that I was going to eat them later, and then continued my conversation back with my daughter without even addressing that at all. My granddaughter just kind of stood there for a second and walked away. So then, about 5 minutes later, I kind of realized what I had done. I felt bad, and I explained it to her as I was just kidding, and those aren't real; they're fake. So, yeah. So I got to be careful. Being a huge movie buff, I even have movies in the kitchen. There's a small collection of DVDs and Blu-rays in the kitchen, and we have a TV right here. It's a crappy little tube TV, but one of these days I'll put a little flat screen in here, HD TV in here. But I also do a lot of my special effects work right here in the kitchen. You can see behind me a couple of projects, incomplete projects that I've been kind of working on for a short film that I wrote. So where most people, in their cupboards and stuff have, food and whatnot, dishes, what have you. And one of mine is all my makeup supplies. There's paint, latex. Here's a thing of fake blood. So again, continuing to be weird. I have a small little collection, modest collection of salt shakers, horror themed salt shakers, a couple skulls, some mummies, and then of course, being a comic book fan, I've got a Batman salt and pepper shaker. Remember the Warner Brothers stores, kids? Remember that store? Probably not, but it was a super freaking awesome store, and they had a ton of DC merchandise. And this is one that I got that I thought, again, would be cool to have in a kitchen. An empty, classic milk bottle with Catwoman on it. Again, thought it was cool, ironic, funny. Got hot pad. I got my Jason hot pad, Night of the Living Dead, oven mitt, zombie oven mitt. And then here's, as far as my comic book collection stuff goes, these are pride and joys for me. This here is the collection of 70s Pepsi DC glasses. I think I'm still missing one or two. I know I'm missing at least Green Arrow. There was a Green Arrow one, but I'll have to double check. I can't remember what all I'm missing. I haven't bothered to complete the collection in quite some time, but mostly because I'm out of room on that shelf, I guess. But man, I remember these when I was a kid, and they're freaking awesome. So as an adult, I had to collect them again. And again, for fun irony stuff, I got a couple of like Leatherface utensils in the kitchen there. Mallet, got a scythe there, some murder weapons. Shrunken head, why not? Being a Killer Tomatoes fan, I've got my Killer Tomato toy here with eating Professor Gangrene from the cartoon and from the movie sequels. Of course, where would you keep Killer Tomato toys? But again, since they're tomatoes, keep them in the kitchen. Elm Street sign. I got some magnets up here. Big Frank Zappa fan, so I got my Frank Zappa sitting on the toilet sticker there. Always been a fan of Vans shoes, and of course Dr. Demento. And then my whole mantra: act weird and let them wonder, right? So, Brain cookie jar, Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing there. Lots of skulls in the kitchen. Lots of skulls in the house, but definitely in the kitchen. And skull-related stuff. There's a skull mug, skull pitcher. This again was also from Collapse. This was a present at the wrap of the film by our prop master. Had made one for Jason and myself of basically zombified heads of ourselves. So it's got glasses. It's wearing a baseball cap, of course, and they're awesome. I love these things because they look as far as like, this. It almost looks like something you'd find in Ed Gein's kitchen. Back when he was arrested. It has that quality to it of just like really decayed, leathered flesh of a severed skull. So it's got to be in the kitchen. More superhero stuff here. You can obviously tell I'm a big DC fan, but I've got like, some collector's plates and glasses and mugs and stuff. That one there I love a lot. You can see it there. Teen Titans, done by original Teen Titans, done by Alex Ross, who's one of my favorite artists. And then over here we've got get better lighting here. Get out of the window. But more shelving here. Again, more skulls. I've got my Larry Cohen autographed stuff container, stream used stuff container. Again, food related. It's got to be in the kitchen. My Cthulhu, my Cthulhu soup there. Again, more skulls. Brain in a jar. Got to have brains in the kitchen as well. Another jar of like fingers and eyeballs. This is pretty cool. A very old 7-Up can. I've had this for years. I can't even remember where I found it. But, and of course, you got cookbooks. I got traditional cookbooks. And then for irony's sake, if people were to look closely enough, I've got Eaten Alive, Italian Cannibal and Zombie Movies. And then, which is also just a really cool book, but it is also food related. Penn and Teller's How to Play with Your Food. Some really cool stuff in there as well. Very top shelf, if we can get up there. There's a hollowed out head that I made for my film Demonica. And then in the corner there is my Yoda collection. And oh yeah, I forgot to show you this too. Back in here is a box, a prop that was made for my short film Leftovers. Sugar-coated zombie bites was the cereal that the actress was eating in that film. So yeah, I think that's the highlights of the kitchen. Over here, another one of my favorite comic book artists. Met him at a Comic-Con a few years back and bought a ton of prints of his. And this is one of my favorite ones that I thought would go great in the kitchen. A parody of a classic Norman Rockwell, another artist I'm a big fan of, but all zombified. You know, the cop and the boy at the diner. You know, got my again, because I think it's funny, I got my MC Escher. Salvador Dali, MC Escher, Salvador Dali clock. And then this picture of horses. Now this is a personal thing here. My aunt made this, and it was hung in her house as long as I knew her, and you know, this always reminded me of her house and her. And so when she passed away, and the family was dividing stuff up from the house, all I wanted was this picture, and I got it. So it means a lot to me. You know, it's kind of like a whole connection thing to my family and whatnot. So yeah. This is funny. It's a squirrel made out of pine cones. So that's it. That's my kitchen. When I do more of these, I'll probably do more tours of my house. You know, because there's stuff everywhere. The kitchen's kind of mild compared to the rest of the house. But thanks again for being a Patreon supporter, and we'll talk to you again soon on Attack of the Killer podcast.